Stop me if this sounds familiar. You say something intelligent in a conversation. And people barely react, but then someone else, someone you know isn't as sharp as you, says almost the exact same thing 10 minutes later, and suddenly everyone's nodding. Suddenly it's brilliant. Suddenly they're the smart one in the room. And you're sitting there thinking, did I just become invisible? Here's what's actually happening. You're smarter than you think you are, but there's something you're doing, something you don't even realize, that's making people completely miss your intelligence. It's not your words. It's not your ideas. It's not even your knowledge that it's something else entirely, and once I show you what it is, you're going to feel like you've been walking around with a blindfold on your entire life, because here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Intelligence without perception is invisible. You can be the smartest person in the room and still be treated like you're average. Still be overlooked. Still be underestimated, not because you're not intelligent, but because you never learned how to make your intelligence visible, and the people who do get recognized. The ones who get respect, who get listened to, who get taken seriously, they're not smarter than you. They just understand something Machiavelli figured out 500 years ago, something that has nothing to do with IQ tests or degrees or how many books you've read. It's a secret about human perception. About how people decide who's intelligent and who's not, and it has almost nothing to do with actual intelligence. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why you've been invisible, why people don't recognize what you're capable of. And exactly what to do about it. This isn't theory. This isn't motivation, this is the decoded psychology of perceived intelligence, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. Let's begin. Part 1, The Intelligence Paradox. Before we go any further, do me a favor, subscribe to Deep Psyche Coded right now. Because what you're about to learn isn't taught in schools. It's not in self-help books. It's the hidden psychology that separates people who get recognized from people who get ignored. Hit that subscribe button. You're going to need everything we share here. Now, let me tell you about the intelligence paradox. You probably think intelligence is straightforward, right? Smart people get recognized as smart. Average people get recognized as average. Simple. Wrong. Here's what actually happens. There are people walking around right now, people you know aren't as intelligent as you, who are getting more respect, more opportunities, more recognition, and you're sitting there confused, wondering what they have that you don't. I'll tell you exactly what they have perceived authority, not real intelligence. Perceived intelligence, and here's the brutal truth, in human social dynamics, perception beats reality every single time. Machiavelli understood this at a level most people never will. He wrote, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. For everyone can see, but few can feel. Translation, people judge you by what they perceive, not by what's real. They don't actually know how intelligent you are. They can't see inside your head, they judge your intelligence based on surface-level signals. And if you're not sending the right signals, you're invisible. Let me give you a real example. Two people are in a meeting. Both have the same idea. Person A explains it enthusiastically. Uses a lot of words. Shows their reasoning. Tries to make sure everyone understands. Person B waits. Speaks slowly. Uses fewer words. Delivers the idea with calm certainty. Doesn't explain unless asked. Who gets taken more seriously? Person B. Every single time, not because they're smarter. Not because their idea is better. But because they appear more certain. More authoritative. More intelligent. That's the paradox. The more you try to prove your intelligence, the less intelligent you appear. The more you explain, the more you justify, the more you seek validation for your ideas, the weaker you seem. Meanwhile, someone who barely explains anything, who speaks with quiet confidence, who doesn't seek approval, they're automatically perceived as more intelligent. It's not fair. It's not logical, but it's how human psychology works, and you've been on the wrong side of this dynamic your entire life. You've been trying to demonstrate your intelligence through explanation, through showing your work. Through making sure people understand your reasoning. And every time you do that, you're signaling something you don't intend to signal. You're signaling uncertainty, because truly intelligent people, or at least, people who are perceived as truly intelligent, don't need to prove anything. They state. They don't justify, they assert. They don't defend, they speak with the quiet assumption that you'll either understand or you won't, and they're fine with either outcome. That confidence, that detachment from needing validation, that's what reads as intelligence. Not your actual ideas. Not your reasoning. Not your knowledge, your level of certainty. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. You know those people who get listened to even when they're saying something completely average. They've mastered the art of appearing intelligent without necessarily being more intelligent. They speak slowly. They use pauses. They maintain eye contact. They don't over-explain, they let their words hang in the air like each sentence is profound, even when it's not. And people eat it up, because humans are wired to associate certain behaviors with intelligence. Calm delivery. Measured speech. Controlled emotion. Strategic silence. These signals trigger something in people's brains that says, this person knows something I don't. Meanwhile, you're over here actually having intelligent thoughts, but presenting them in a way that signals the opposite. You're speaking quickly because you're excited, that you're explaining thoroughly because you want to be understood. You're showing enthusiasm because you care about the idea, and all of those things, every single one, makes you appear less intelligent to observers. It's a paradox, the behaviors that come from genuine intelligence often make you seem less intelligent, while the behaviors that merely mimic intelligence make you seem brilliant. This is what Machiavelli meant when he talked about appearance versus reality. He understood that in human social dynamics, the person who appears powerful has more actual power than the person who is powerful but doesn't appear it. The same applies to intelligence. The person who appears intelligent gets treated as if they're intelligent regardless of reality. And that treatment creates real-world results. They get listened to. They get opportunities. They get respect. While you, with your actual intelligence, get overlooked, not because you're not smart, but because you never learned to make your intelligence perceptible. You never learned the signals, you never learned that human beings don't respond to your internal reality. They respond to your external presentation, and right now, your presentation is working against you, but that changes today. Because once you understand the game, you can play it. Once you see the signals people are reading, you can send different signals. You don't have to become fake. You don't have to pretend to be something you're not, you just have to align your external presentation with your internal reality. You have to learn to display your intelligence instead of hiding it behind behaviors that signal the opposite, and that's exactly what we're about to do. Part 2, the signals you're sending. Let's talk about what you're actually communicating when you speak, because here's the thing. You think you're just sharing ideas. But you're actually broadcasting a complex array of social signals, and most of those signals have nothing to do with the content of what you're saying. People are reading your confidence level, your certainty, your need for approval, and they're making split-second judgments about your intelligence based on those signals. Let me break down the signals that are killing your perceived intelligence. Signal number 1, over-explanation. When you explain too much, what people hear is, I'm not confident you'll understand this, so I need to walk you through every detail. Or worse, I'm not confident in this idea myself, so I need to justify it extensively. Either way, you're signaling doubt, and doubt reads as lack of intelligence. Think about the most intelligent people you know. The ones who command respect. How do they deliver ideas? Concisely. With finality. They don't walk you through their entire thought process. They don't show you every step of their reasoning. They give you the conclusion and trust that you'll either get it or ask questions. That trust, that willingness to let the idea stand on its own, signals supreme confidence. And confidence is interpreted as intelligence. Signal number 2, seeking validation. Every time you look around the room to check if people are agreeing with you, you're sending a signal. Every time you add, does that make sense? Or, do you know what I mean? To the end of your sentences, you're sending a signal. You're signaling that you need external confirmation that your idea is valid, and people who need external confirmation appear uncertain. Uncertain people don't get perceived as intelligent, even when their ideas are brilliant. Compare this to someone who states their position and then simply stops talking. No checking for approval. No, what do you guys think? No nervous laughter. Just the statement, delivered with calm certainty, and then silence. That silence does something powerful that it forces other people to respond. It puts the burden on them to engage with your idea that you're not asking for permission to be right. You're assuming you are, and letting them catch up. That's the energy of perceived intelligence. Signal number 3, emotional display. This one's going to be controversial, but it's true. When you show too much emotion about your ideas, excitement, frustration, passion, you decrease your perceived intelligence. That I know that sounds backwards. You'd think passion signals competence. But here's what actually happens in people's minds. High emotion equals less control equals less rational equals less intelligent. It's not fair, but it's the reality of human perception. The people who get taken most seriously are the ones who present ideas with controlled emotion. Not emotionless. Just regulated. They care about the idea, but they're not attached to whether you accept it. They present it calmly, almost as if they're observing their own thoughts from a distance. That detachment signals mastery. That it signals, I've thought about this so thoroughly that I'm beyond the emotional stage. This is simply what I've concluded, and I'm comfortable with it. Meanwhile, when you present ideas with visible excitement or frustration, what people unconsciously register is, this person is still emotionally processing this idea. They haven't reached clarity yet. And lack of clarity reads as lack of intelligence. Signal number 4, speed of speech. Fast talkers are perceived as less intelligent than slow talkers. It doesn't matter that you're speaking quickly because your mind is racing with ideas. What people hear is nervous energy, lack of control, uncertainty. Slow speech signals the opposite. That it signals, I'm so confident in what I'm saying that I don't need to rush. Each word is deliberate. Each pause is intentional. That deliberateness reads as depth. Think about every intellectual figure you respect. Every philosopher, every thought leader, every person you consider deeply intelligent. How do they speak? Slowly. With pauses. With weight behind each sentence. They're not racing to get their ideas out. They're carefully placing each idea in front of you, and that careful placement signals that each idea has been thoroughly considered. That thoroughness is what we associate with intelligence. Signal number 5, filling silence. This is the killer. When you can't tolerate silence in a conversation, when you rush to fill every gap with more words, more explanations, more justifications, you're signaling discomfort, and discomfort signals insecurity. Insecurity is the opposite of intelligence in human perception. Intelligent people are comfortable with silence. They say something, and then they let it breathe. They don't panic when no one responds immediately. They don't rush to add more context or soften their statement. They trust the weight of their words. And that trust is magnetic. That it makes people lean in. It makes them think. It makes them take you seriously, because if you're comfortable with the silence, they assume your idea is worth the pause, but if you're rushing to fill every silence, they assume you're not confident in what you just said. Now, here's what all of these signals have in common. That they're all about control. Control of your speech. Control of your emotions. Control of your need for validation. The more control you display, the more intelligent you appear. The less control you display, the less intelligent you appear. It has almost nothing to do with the actual intelligence of your ideas, and once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing it everywhere. The person who gets listened to isn't necessarily the smartest person in the room. They're the most controlled person in the room. And control is interpreted as intelligence. So here's your first shift: stop trying to prove your intelligence through explanation. Start demonstrating your intelligence through controlled delivery. Speak slower. Explain less. Tolerate silence. Display calm certainty. Not because you're faking anything, but because you're aligning your external signals with your internal reality. You are intelligent, now it's time to look like it. Part 3, the Machiavelli Method. Now let's talk about what Machiavelli actually understood that changed everything, because his insight wasn't just about politics or power. It was about human perception and how to control it. Machiavelli observed something that most people refuse to accept: people don't respond to what's real. They respond to what they perceive, and the person who controls perception controls reality. this applies to intelligence just as much as it applies to power. You can be genuinely intelligent, but if people don't perceive you as intelligent, your intelligence has no social currency. It exists in a vacuum. Meanwhile, someone who's merely average but controls perception, they get treated as if they're brilliant, and that treatment creates real advantages. So the question becomes, how do you control perception? Machiavelli gave us the blueprint. Principle number 1. Strategic silence. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the power of restraint. The prince who speaks too much, who explains too much, who reveals too much, loses power, because every word is information. Every explanation is an opening. Every justification is a vulnerability. Silence, on the other hand, is armor. When you speak less, people fill the silence with their own projections. They assume depth. They assume calculation. They assume you're thinking 10 steps ahead, and those assumptions give you power you didn't have to earn through words. This is why the smartest people in any room are often the quietest, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand that saying less makes each word carry more weight. When you speak constantly, your words become noise. When you speak rarely, your words become events. Apply this to your intelligence. Stop offering your thoughts on everything. Stop jumping into every conversation. Become selective. Speak when you have something genuinely valuable to add, and when you do speak, make it count. Point 1. Well-placed insight delivered with calm certainty will do more for your perceived intelligence than 10 enthusiastic explanations. Principle number 2. Controlled emotion. Machiavelli understood that leaders who let emotions control them lose respect, not because emotion is wrong, but because it signals loss of control, and people instinctively distrust those who aren't in control of themselves. The same applies to intellectual credibility. When you react emotionally to disagreement, when you get defensive about your ideas, when you show frustration when people don't understand, you lose credibility, not because your ideas are wrong, but because you're signaling that you're emotionally invested in being right. An emotional investment looks like bias. The intelligent move is detachment. Present your ideas with the calm confidence of someone who's already done the thinking, someone who's already considered the counterarguments, someone who's so secure in their conclusions that disagreement doesn't threaten them. That security is what reads as intelligence. It signals, I've been where you are. I've had the same doubts. I've thought it through. This is where the thinking leads. That's authority. Principle number 3. Strategic unpredictability. Here's where it gets sophisticated. Machiavelli advised that a prince should never be fully predictable. Because predictability is weakness. It allows others to prepare for you, to plan around you, to manage you. Unpredictability is power. The same principle applies to intellectual presence. If people can always predict your position, if they always know what you're going to say, you become background noise. They stop paying attention because they think they already know. But when you're strategically unpredictable, when you sometimes agree with the consensus and sometimes challenge it, when you sometimes speak and sometimes stay silent, when your positions can't be easily categorized, you force people to actually listen. Because they can't assume they know what you're going to say. That uncertainty creates attention, and attention is the first step to being taken seriously. Now, unpredictability doesn't mean being random or contradictory. It means being independent in your thinking, not following ideological scripts. Not being loyal to any particular camp, thinking through each situation individually and arriving at conclusions based on reasoning, not allegiance. That independence is rare, and rare things get valued. Principle number 4. Display competence, hide effort. This is the secret that changes everything. Machiavelli observed that effective leaders make power look effortless. They don't show you the struggle, the doubt, the endless work. They show you the results, and those results appear almost natural, as if they simply flowed from the leader's inherent qualities. The same applies to intelligence. When you display all your effort, when you show people how hard you work to understand something, when you walk them through your entire thought process, when you reveal every doubt you had along the way, you diminish the impact. Because people associate true intelligence with ease, they think smart people just get it naturally. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter. That's the perception. So when you show all your work, you're accidentally signaling, this was hard for me. I'm not naturally intelligent. I had to struggle. Meanwhile, someone who presents the same insight as if it's obvious, as if it's just how they see things naturally, they get perceived as more intelligent. It's the illusion of effortlessness. and that illusion is powerful. So stop showing all your work, stop explaining how you arrived at your conclusions, just deliver the conclusion with quiet confidence and let people assume it came naturally to you. Because here's the truth, nobody needs to know how hard you work to figure something out, they just need to see that you figured it out. And the easier you make it look, the more impressed they'll be. These 4 principles: strategic silence, controlled emotion, strategic unpredictability, and effortless competence are the foundation of perceived intelligence. Master them, and you don't just appear smarter, you become more effective with your actual intelligence. Because intelligence without influence is just private knowledge, but intelligence that's properly displayed, that's power. Part 4, the confidence equation. Now we need to talk about the thing that underlies everything. Confidence, not the loud, arrogant kind. Not the fake it till you make it kind, the real kind. The kind that's based on something solid. Because here's what nobody tells you about intelligence: intelligence without confidence is invisible. You can have brilliant ideas, but if you present them hesitantly, apologetically, uncertainly, they die in your throat. People don't remember brilliant ideas delivered with uncertainty. They remember average ideas delivered with conviction. That's the brutal reality of human psychology, that we're wired to follow confidence more than truth. So if you want your intelligence to be recognized, you need to develop genuine confidence in your thinking, not arrogance. Not ego, certainty, and certainty comes from one place: rigorous thinking. Let me explain. Most people's confidence is fragile because it's based on hope, not verification. They think something is true, but they haven't actually tested it. They haven't interrogated their own ideas, they haven't considered the strongest counterarguments. So when someone challenges them, they crumble, because deep down, they're not actually sure. That uncertainty shows. And people sense it instantly, but when you've done the work, when you've actually thought something through from every angle, when you've tested your ideas against reality, when you've considered and addressed the best counterarguments, you develop a different kind of confidence, unshakable confidence, the confidence that comes from knowing you've done the thinking. And that confidence changes everything about how you present ideas. You don't seek validation because you've already validated it yourself. You don't get defensive because you've already defended it to yourself. You don't over-explain because you don't need to convince yourself. You just know, and knowing has a completely different energy than thinking or hoping. People feel that difference immediately. Here's the practice: before you present any idea in public, stress test it in private. Ask yourself, what's the strongest argument against this? How would I respond to that? What evidence supports this? What evidence contradicts it? Am I thinking this because it's true, or because I want it to be true? What would have to be true for me to be wrong about this? If you can answer those questions, you've earned your confidence. And once you have that earned confidence, you present ideas differently, you speak with finality, not suggestion. You state, not propose, you assert, not question, not because you're arrogant, but because you've done the work and you trust your conclusions. That trust is magnetic. It makes people trust you too, because humans are followers by nature. We look for certainty in an uncertain world. And when we encounter someone who seems genuinely certain, we're drawn to them. We assume they see something we don't. We assume they've figured something out. That assumption is respect. And respect for your certainty translates into respect for your intelligence. So build real confidence. Not through affirmations or positive thinking, through rigorous thinking, through testing your ideas. Through being your own harshest critic before anyone else gets the chance. When you do that, when you develop ideas you're genuinely certain about, the way you present them changes automatically. You don't have to fake confidence, you have it, and people sense that immediately. Part 5, the subtle art of authority. Let's go deeper now, because there's another layer to this that most people miss entirely: authority, not positional authority. Not the kind that comes from titles or credentials, psychological authority, the kind that makes people instinctively defer to you, even when you're not technically in charge. This is what truly intelligent people understand. Intelligence alone doesn't command respect. Intelligence plus authority commands respect. And authority isn't about being domineering or aggressive. It's about presence. About the way you occupy space. The way you hold attention. The way you respond to challenges. Let me break down the elements of psychological authority. Element number 1, non-reactivity. Authority figures don't react. They respond. There's a difference. Reacting is immediate, emotional, uncontrolled. Responding is measured, considered, deliberate. When someone challenges your idea and you immediately jump to defend it, you're reacting, and reactions signal threat perception. That if you perceive a challenge as a threat, you're signaling that your position is vulnerable. Authorities don't do this, they pause. They consider. They respond calmly, sometimes they even concede points where the challenger is correct, because they're not attached to being right about everything, they're committed to being accurate. That commitment to accuracy over ego is what real authority looks like. Practice this. When someone challenges you, pause for 3 seconds before responding. In those 3 seconds, separate your ego from your idea. Ask yourself, are they actually wrong, or am I just uncomfortable being questioned? If they're wrong, respond calmly with your reasoning. If they have a point, acknowledge it. That acknowledgement doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you, because it shows you're secure enough to admit when someone else is right. That security is authority. Element number 2. Economy of words. Authority speaks concisely, every word matters. There's no filler. No rambling. No unnecessary elaboration. This is hard for intelligent people because you have a lot to say, your mind makes 1,000 connections, and you want to share all of them. Don't share the conclusion. Share the most important connection, let the rest remain unspoken, because when you say everything you're thinking, you dilute the impact of your best ideas. But when you carefully select only the most powerful points and deliver them concisely, each statement lands with weight. Think of it like this. You're not trying to empty your mind into the conversation, that you're trying to plant specific ideas in other people's minds. And planting requires precision, not volume. Point 1. Perfectly placed seed grows into a tree. A handful of seeds scattered everywhere grows into nothing. Element number 3. Comfortable with disagreement. Here's a paradox. The more comfortable you are with people disagreeing with you, the more they respect your intelligence, because comfort with disagreement signals security. It signals, I've thought this through so thoroughly that your disagreement doesn't threaten my conclusions. Most people get defensive when challenged because they're not actually secure in their thinking. They need external validation to feel confident. Authorities don't need external validation, that they've already validated their thinking internally. So when someone disagrees, they're genuinely curious about the disagreement. Maybe the person sees something they missed. Maybe there's a perspective they didn't consider. Or maybe the person is just wrong, and that's fine too. Either way, there's no threat. That lack of defensiveness is incredibly powerful. It makes you appear secure, thoughtful, and genuinely intelligent, because only someone who's done real thinking can afford to be that open to challenge. Element number 4. Owning your space. This one's subtle but critical. Authority doesn't apologize for existing. It doesn't shrink. It doesn't qualify. It doesn't soften. When you say, I think, or I believe, or in my opinion, before every statement, you're doing something that you're preemptively apologizing for having a thought. You're signaling, this is just me, don't take it too seriously, I might be wrong. Authorities don't do this. They state, not, I think we should do X. Just, we should do X. Not, in my opinion, Y is the better approach. Just, Y is the better approach. The difference is subtle, but the impact is massive. Point 1 sounds like a suggestion. The other sounds like a conclusion, and people respond to conclusions with respect. They respond to suggestions with maybe. Now, this doesn't mean being arrogant or refusing to acknowledge uncertainty. When you genuinely don't know something, say so directly. I don't know, delivered with confidence, is more authoritative than, I think, maybe, possibly, delivered with hesitation, because it shows you're secure enough to acknowledge the limits of your knowledge. That security, again, is authority. If this video is hitting you differently than any other self-improvement content you've seen, that's not an accident. Deep Psyche Coded doesn't give you surface-level advice. That we decode the actual psychology of how power, intelligence, and influence work in the real world. Subscribe right now if you haven't already, because we're just getting started, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Part 6, The Final Transformation. We're in the final stage now. And this is where everything comes together. You understand now why people don't recognize your intelligence. You understand the signals you've been sending. You understand the Machiavellian principles of perception. You understand how confidence and authority work. Now comes the transformation. Becoming someone whose intelligence is undeniable. Not because you're showing off. Not because you're performing, but because you've aligned your internal reality with your external presentation. Here's what that looks like. You enter a room and there's a shift in energy. Not because you're loud or demanding attention, but because you're centered, controlled, and present. People sense that you're not seeking validation. They sense that you're not performing. You're just there. Fully there. That presence is magnetic. When you speak, people listen not because you're dominating the conversation, but because what you say has weight. You speak less than others, but your words carry more meaning. You don't rush to fill silence. You're comfortable with pauses. You don't over-explain. You trust that your ideas can stand on their own. When someone challenges you, you don't get defensive. You consider their point genuinely. You respond thoughtfully. And if they're right, you acknowledge it without ego damage. That response earns more respect than any defensive argument ever could. You're not trying to be the smartest person in the room. You're just committed to clear thinking, and that commitment shows. People start coming to you with questions. Not because you have all the answers, but because they trust the way you think. They trust that you'll consider things carefully. That you won't just react emotionally or ideologically. That you'll see angles they haven't seen. That's real intellectual authority. And once you have it, everything changes. You get listened to in meetings. Your ideas get implemented. People remember what you said weeks later. Not because you were loud or repetitive, but because you were clear and controlled. This is the intelligence that actually matters. Not your IQ score. Not your test grades. Not how many books you've read. The intelligence that others recognize and respect. The intelligence that opens doors. The intelligence that gives you influence. And here's the beautiful part, you already have this intelligence inside you. You've always had it. You just didn't know how to make it visible. You were using the wrong signals. You were presenting yourself in ways that obscured your intelligence instead of revealing it. But that ends today. Today you understand the game. You understand that human beings judge intelligence through perception, not reality. You understand the signals that create perception. You understand how to control those signals. And most importantly, you understand that this isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the most effective version of yourself. The version that your intelligence deserves to be matched with. Because right now, there's a gap. Your internal intelligence is high, but your external presentation hasn't caught up. Close that gap. Speak less. When you speak, speak with certainty. Control your emotions. Show calm, not chaos. Tolerate silence. Let your words breathe. Don't over-explain. Trust your ideas to land. Be comfortable with disagreement. Security is authority. And watch what happens. Watch how people start treating you differently. How they lean in when you speak. How they quote you later. How they seek your perspective. Not because you changed who you are, but because you learned to display who you've always been. That's the Machiavelli secret. Perception is reality. And once you control perception, you control how people see you, how they treat you, and ultimately, what you're able to accomplish. Your intelligence isn't the problem. It never was. The problem was invisibility. And invisibility ends today. You're smarter than you think you are. But now you know why no one knew it. The signals you were sending. The behaviors you were displaying. The way you were presenting yourself. All of it was working against you. But not anymore. Now you understand the game. You understand that intelligence without perception is powerless. That control is interpreted as competence. That certainty is magnetic. That authority doesn't need to be loud. You understand Machiavelli's secret, people respond to what they perceive, not what's real. And the person who controls perception controls reality. So take everything you learned here and apply it. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. The next time you're in a conversation, speak less. Speak slower. Let silence exist. Don't rush to fill it. Present your ideas with calm certainty, not anxious explanation. And watch how differently people respond to you. If this video changed how you see intelligence and perception, do 2 things right now. 1. Subscribe to Deep Psyche Coded. This channel decodes the psychology that society keeps hidden. The strategies that separate the influential from the invisible. 2. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone smart who doesn't get the recognition they deserve. Someone who's been invisible too long. Send it to them. Change their life the way this changed yours. And remember, you were always intelligent. Now you just look like it too. I'll see you in the next one.